Hey guys, Serene Grace here, and this is the story of how I won $75 on Pokemon Showdown by using a Grotle. So what happened was that Pokemon Challenges, a famous Nuzlocker, was hosting a tournament on Pokemon Showdown. And the rule set was actually really interesting. But basically it was a Pokemon Platinum pre-Fantina Nuzlocke Pokemon only tournament. In other words, you can only use Pokemon moves, TMs that you can obtain if you were Nuzlocking Pokemon Platinum. So that means if you were doing a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Platinum, and before Fantina you would be level capped to the level 26 because that's what Fantina's Pokemon is, right? And then your TMs are locked too because you only get one TM for whatever it might be. And then your moves are also locked because you can only use moves that you get before level 26. So these are basically the rules, like the Nuzlocke rule, and then all other standard Smogon rules like species clause. And then items, you can only use items obtainable while Nuzlocking. So, for example, because of the underground in Pokemon Platinum, you can get an infinite number of, Splash Plate, Mind Plate, whatever it is. You can get the infinite number of leftovers because you can thief it from a Munchlax in Floroma Town. So but some items are restricted. You can only have one. So there's all these different restrictions because you're essentially Nuzlocking Pokemon Platinum. So just as an example, and if you don't know what Nuzlocking is, in this context, you can only use one Pokemon per route. So as an example, in Twin Leaf Town, you get your starter. So if you have a Monferno on your team, you cannot have a Prinplup on your team because your encounter for Twin Leaf Town was already done. So that's the main idea. You're Nuzlocking, and you're making a team of 6 Pokemon to use on Pokemon Showdown. So this is a list of all the viable Pokemon that you can get. So the best Pokemon in the tier is Heracross, and the reason is pretty obvious because it's so strong. It learns a really good move, Brick Break, and Level Up, and it can use a TM like Rock Tomb, to hit flying types or whatever might want to switch into a Brick Break. And there's something quite deceptive actually about the tier, because it's not about what stats you have or what abilities you have. It's actually about the move pool you have, because at level 26, a lot of Pokemon don't even have good moves. Like Floatzel, its only water move is Aqua Jet. Gyarados doesn't even have a water move. So you have all these Pokemon they look strong. Like Gyarados looks like it's going to be the king of the tier, but it's actually really bad just because it doesn't have any good moves, right? So move pool becomes really, really important, and it's very deceptive about what's good and what's bad unless you can see the move pool of a Pokemon. So after Heracross, which was good because of the combination of move pool, stats, ability, after Heracross, the next best Pokemon is something that I'll pause the video if you want to guess, but there's no way you're going to figure it out. The next best Pokemon is actually Wormadam Trash, which is never been viable anywhere in the history of Pokemon except now. And the main reason is that Wormadam's move pool is actually really good because of one thing, and that is it learns Hidden Power through Level Up, which means that you can use any type attack you want. So in a tier that's lacking a good move, you have a base 70 move of any type you want. So if you want Hidden Power Ice to hit Gligar, you can do that. You want Hidden Power Flying to hit Heracross, you can do that. Hidden Power Electric to hit Gyarados, you can do that. So Wormadam is very average in its stats. Its typing is decent, I wouldn't say it's great. Bug and Steel is good. But what really sets it apart is that move pool of having a Hidden Power. And so that it's funny because Wormadam is much better than Gyarados, and I don't think I've ever thought I would say those words before, but it is what it is, right? So that's basically a viable Pokemon, and you have other things. You have Kadabra, which has a Psybeam attack with the good special attack. You have Gligar, which can use the Earthquake TM, and TMs are really huge because you can only use a TM once. So you have to be really careful about when you use a TM. Because you only get one TM for Earthquake, one TM for Rock Tomb, one TM for Substitute, one TM for Secret Power. So you have to be careful about how you use your TMs. And that is really, really big. So you have other Pokemon like Monferno with Flame Wheel. So now going on to my team itself, like what 6 Pokemon did I pick and why did I pick them? And obviously I picked Grotle, as you can tell by the title of the video. So my team is basically what I'm going to talk about now. So the backstory for this team is basically that I talked to my friend Guao, who is a former SPL player and a Smogon veteran, and I was like, hey, let's crash this tournament. I think we can do well in it. So he said, okay, yeah. So then we ended up building this team together, and the main idea is that we lead with Grotle, and then we get Stealth Rock up, and we try and use Heracross and Kadabra as the main wall breakers. So the idea with Grotle is that, one, there's no rapid spin in the tier. So if you get Stealth Rocks up, it's up for the rest of the game, and that is huge. So we wanted to use this Grotle Stealth Rock lead. But an added benefit of that is that it gets the move Curse, which is really unique because there aren't many setup sweepers in the tier. And there's no TM for Toxic yet, and there's no Will-O-Wisp user or anything that can spread Burn. So a bulky setup sweeper like Grotle is really good in the tier. So even though it's a lead, it can also start setting up immediately and try and go for the win. Razor Leaf is just a powerful move in this context because it's stab and base 55, which isn't huge, but in a tier where nothing has anything good, it's relatively, okay. But the real, the dark horse of what makes Grotle so good is Secret Power. And the main reason, Secret Power is a TM, so you can only use it once on your team. But the main benefit of it is that it has a paralysis chance. So what you want to do is you want to spread paralysis throughout the opposing team. Like that's what you want out of the lead. So if you can paralyze Crobat, for example, because Crobat is poison flying, it obviously checks the Grotle. If you can paralyze the Crobat, then you take away its biggest asset, which is its speed. So that's the main idea of a Grotle lead. Then the next part of the beginning phase of the team is Probopass, and this set is really interesting because it takes advantage of a unique feature of Wormadam. So Wormadam is a steel type, and it's one of the most popular Pokemon in the tier. However, all Wormadams have to be female, and the reason is that when Burmy evolves, if Burmy is male, it becomes a Mothim, but if it's female, it becomes a Wormadam. So what the strategy was, hey, we can actually PP stall Wormadam with Captivate, because you lower the special attack by 2, and then when it tries to attack you, it does less damage than leftovers, so you're always going to heal. So you taunt its defensive moves, like maybe it has Protect or Substitute. You taunt those moves, you Captivate to lower the special attack, and then you PP stall it till it runs out of attacking moves. So you essentially take one of the most powerful Pokemon in the tier, and you make it completely useless. So that was the basic core. Spread paralysis with Grotle, and then trap the steel types with Probopass. Then we added Heracross, because Heracross is the best Pokemon in the tier because of its high attack stat, base 125, and its strong stab move in Brick Break. Aerial Ace is to hit other Heracross, and then the speed is maxed out for other Heracross as well. Return is just a really nice coverage move. You're only allowed 1 return per team because of the TM rule, so I had to choose carefully and ultimately decided it's going to be good on Heracross. And then Counter, which is it's good like as a filler move because Heracross is running out of moves. It's not ideal, but it's a good move just to counter some health back when you don't have any other option. Then we have Gligar, who's on the team mainly because of its stats, and using the TM Earthquake, it becomes very strong. Because in this context, base 75 attack with a move like Earthquake is really strong. It helps deal with Heracross too because of its bulk, and it can knock off the Heracross Rock Tomb it, and it eventually wins 1v1. Then we have the next threat, which is Kadabra. And the big deal about Substitute Kadabra is that it really takes advantage of the synergy. Like if you notice, Grotle paralyzed something, remember? It paralyzed Crobat. And what's the only thing that can outspeed Kadabra? Crobat. So you you actually removed one of its checks early on in the game, and your opponent wouldn't even know you have a Kadabra in the back. Then, if you notice, Kadabra is also weak to steel types like Wormadam or Bronzor. But guess what? You already trapped the steel types with Probopass. So it's very deceptive, because if you don't know Kadabra is sitting there in the back, and by the time you realize it, it's too late. You've already lost your steel type, your Crobat is already paralyzed, and now you're just out of luck because Kadabra has such a strong special attack and a relatively good move in Psybeam that it's going to be really tough. And Grass Knot is filler, Flash is filler, just, to combine with the substitute aspect, so maybe you can get lucky. It's filler though. It's mainly there because there are no other good moves. Then we have Crobat to round off the team, and Crobat is just there because it's fast. It's really good at revenge killing. Like, say something gets out of hand, Crobat will always outspeed it and hopefully get a kill. Pluck is the attacking move that you want to use most of the time. Bite is good to hit Rotom, because Rotom thinks it can beat Crobat because it's an electric type, but in reality it just loses to Bite. Air Cutter is meant for Curse Grotle, because if my opponent has a Grotle and it starts cursing up, I can't touch it with Pluck, I'm just too weak. So that's where Air Cutter comes in, because it's special attack. And Supersonic is a filler. Crobat doesn't have very many good moves, so Supersonic is just to try and get lucky maybe, but the main idea is to Pluck, Bite, and then beat Grotle with Air Cutter. And that's the main idea of the team. Paralyze, Trap, and then start breaking with Heracross and Kadabra. And it's a team that really served me well in the tournament. And now I'll actually start talking about the tournament itself, which is what you might be here for. So onto the tournament itself. The tournament itself had more than 300 people signing up, and only the top 6 would get prize money. So there was an insane amount of competition, 300 plus people and only the top 6. So that was a really, really tough competition. And the tournament itself was really a melting pot of different communities, because once people saw prize money, they came from all over the place. You had Smogon players, VGC players from the Pokemon Challenges community itself. It was pretty crazy seeing all the different groups of people who came in to watch the tournament. And the tournament itself was a double elimination tournament. And there was a preliminary bracket, which I fortunately qualified through, and that landed me in the top 64. And from the top 64, there was a double elimination to decide who ends up winning the entire tournament. Unfortunately, I ended up losing in the winner semifinal, which guarantees me a minimum of a 6th place, right? Which is good enough for the money. And obviously I would have wanted more, but Zorwasa played really well, and in fact he won the whole tournament. So he deserves his win. I unfortunately couldn't get it done. And the other person who I was working with, Guao, he ended up making it to Grand Finals 2, where he lost to Zorwasa. And I thought I would showcase a game from Guao's point of view, where he used a similar team to mine because we built it together. He used a similar team to actually win in the losers finals to make the final, and he actually won $250. So I thought I would go over the replay of his game just to show you how the team works at a really high level. So this is Guao's game. So basically, Grotle has a good lead versus Gyarados because it can start spamming Secret Power, and he predicted the early taunt, which is why he didn't Stealth Rock. So unfortunately, Guao is not getting the Secret Powers he needs. He's not getting the paralysis he needs, rather, and he's in a lot of trouble early on because Gyarados is getting relatively lucky. And then Gyarados keeps fishing, but he doesn't get it this time, and Gligar knocks off the Gyarados. And Gligar gets Rock Tomb, which is good chip, and now Gyarados is forced out, basically, because it doesn't want to keep taking this much damage, because it's not worth it. But he does stay in, he does get the paralysis, and then Guao is very lucky to not get paralyzed there. And Rotom comes in and walls Lopunny, but Lopunny switches out. And Rotom doesn't do much versus Grotle, so it's forced out, and Grotle gets the rocks up on that switch. And now it's like a bit of what do you do? So Gligar gets rocks up as Guao goes to his own Gligar. And Gligar knocks off and is basically just going to go for the quick attack to kill Gyarados. And you can actually see Guao's plan coming into place because he got his rocks up, and then even though he's a little bit in trouble, he's gotten some important chip off on everything he needs to get chipped. Unfortunate there to get paralyzed. And what actually happens is that Guao knew that Ray J doesn't use a steel type on his team, so he has a Kadabra in the back with Mind Plate instead of leftovers, with the idea to hit really, really hard. So Ray J doesn't know it yet, but he's already losing because of Kadabra's presence in the back. So Guao goes Heracross and attacks the Gligar, and any chip on the Gligar is good for Kadabra to sweep later. So he's just gonna stay in and get some chip off. Yeah, just keep brick breaking, getting the chip, moving it into Kadabra range. And this is where prep comes in, because Guao knows there is no steel type in the back for Ray J. So he's gonna keep doing his thing, and Ray J is gonna think he's doing fine, but it's all over once Kadabra comes in. And another thing is that Guao is using Lopunny instead of Crobat because he liked the use of Baton Pass on it, like substitute plus Baton Pass, while I preferred Crobat's speed. So Rotom walls Heracross actually, so Guao needs to switch out. And Guao is gonna make some interesting plays, but basically Razor Leaf doesn't break Rotom's sub. So what he needs to do is get himself into Overgrow range, and once he's in Overgrow range, he can start breaking the sub. So that's going to be Guao's long-term plan, because right now he doesn't really have a lot that can deal with Rotom, but he does have a long-term plan. So here Rotom subs, loses some health. He's going to Baton Pass into, probably Grotle, if I have to guess. But instead, no, he goes to Probopass. And this was another good long-term decision because he knows there's no Steel type, so Probopass doesn't really need to trap anything because there's nothing to trap. So he can use the Probopass to weaken the Rotom. And Rotom reveals Citrus Berry, and reveals Thief, which was really good for Ray J. But he just keeps shockwaving, and Grotle gets into Overgrow range, and is going to Razor Leaf to remove that substitute. And now here comes Kadabra. And Kadabra is really strong with Mind Plate instead of leftovers. And this is actually a speed tie right now between Kadabra and Lopunny. So Guao does not want to risk it. And so he goes Probopass, and he makes a nice set of plays right now. And he pivots Heracross on the jump kick. So now he can force the Lopunny out. And he knows the Lopunny is going out, so he doubles into Kadabra, predicting the Rotom, a huge play. And then he starts attacking again. And this is a pivotal moment because it's likely to be a speed tie because they are both exactly 92. But Ray J's play here is an interesting one. What he does actually is he thinks about it for a while, and we have to assume he's making some sort of calculation mentally. But Kadabra is just too strong and too fast, so it's really put Ray J into a very awkward position right now. And I'm not sure if Ray J even knows it's Mind Plate, but he quick attacks. And that means he must have been adamant, because he didn't risk the speed, he didn't go for the speed tie, which was really weird. And Leafeon comes in, that's also a speed tie, and Guao doesn't want to risk it, so he goes back out. But this might have been a bad play because Leafeon has that surprise Rock Smash to hit Grotle. But Guao makes a good play, and he's getting chip on Leafeon because he knows that the Leafeon isn't max speed anymore based on these damage rolls. So he immediately goes into Kadabra and kills it, and he knows it's dead. And Rotom, remember, it's Mind Plate Kadabra. Kills the Rotom too, and then last Heracross dies to Kadabra. So a really clinical finish by Guao here to win the loser's final and guarantee $250. And yeah, that's how it all played out. In the end, Guao finished number 2. I finished tied for 5th. So that's $250 for Guao, $75 for me, and more than that, I had a really good time. I thank you to Pokemon Challenges for organizing this tournament. Thank you to the hosts, Why Not and Itsukion. They really made it fun, and they did it without any real trouble. So that was really good. And yeah, this was overall a very unique experience. I don't think I've ever played a tournament like this, where Wormadam is viable, everything is level 26, the unique challenges that a Nuzlocke brings to a Pokemon Showdown game. I really, really loved it. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. And if you want to see more of this type of content, leave a comment down below. And if you like what you saw, please, please, please subscribe. All right, thank you.